Batman and Robin, Year 1, Issue 2. Mark Waid writing with Chris Samnee on art. Now, this is more like a Mark Waid. This is the Mark Waid I want in my life. Thank you very much. This was excellent.
God, Bruce is such a dick in this one. He's such a jerk, and I love it.
I mean, this is just like the art's great. Of course, Samnee's like nailing this kind of early Gotham style story.
Feels very pulp noir kind of, but with the bright colors that Robin's bringing in, and it's a Two-Face, Yeah,
it's the sort of thing where if you throw this in, like, I don't know, if you read like Year 1, then Long Halloween and Dark Victory, then this, it feels like it would spiritually feel all very in line with each other. So
for sure.
Yeah, like, so it's establishing that, Bruce has got the social services lady coming over to check up and see if Dick's in a suitable environment, and there's like some jokes at the office before she leaves. They're all like taking bets on how long it'll be till billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne just gives the kid back to get rid of him. But obviously the joke here is that it cuts from, hey, we'll have to see if he's been put in any danger. Next page, he's like dodging gunfire from Alfred.
His gunfire. There's Joker traps. They're using the giant playing card.
Yeah,
right.
Joker
to
fish. There's like a Riddler like spring box thing. Now, obviously, the gun's not firing real bullets or anything. This is all just training for Robin.
Bruce says that they're rubber bullets, but rubber bullets still leave marks, man. He's still firing rubber bullets at a kid.
Hey, there still has to be a punishment for getting hit. All right, like young Dick needs to learn the ropes.
He could use paintballs. Paintballs would still. You're gonna feel it.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a rubber bullet.
Those move a lot quicker, Pete, than a wrench.
Well, you've not seen me throw a wrench.
True.
Also, cue up Alfred with the wrench cannon that just launches wrenches at volatile force.
I do love this page here because it seems like it's straight chaos, right? With the odd angles that the panels are kind of taking, right? And it's cutting between Dick in doing his stuff with a smile and Bruce yelling, and then Alfred's like, "Sir, he is advancing towards us. He's just doing it his way."
Yeah.
Right. And it gives us the first like split between Batman and Robin, in that Bruce looks at this as it's deathly serious work, whereas Robin's a performer, right? He's a circus acrobat.
That's specifically what Bruce says in the middle. He yells out, "Stop performing, like get to the thing, get to the destination, the goal as quickly and efficiently as possible." But because Dick's taken a bit more of a, not a scenic route, but more of a flamboyant route, Bruce has got a problem with it. Joe is so crazy though, as we're complaining about just messy pages of action in World's Finest, is that this is 2 pages, and you said it yourself, this looks chaotic at first glance. This 2-page layout where it's got a lot of panels. It's like 4 rows of panels, and they're not like straight boxes either. They've all got sort of angled edges and things like that. But this page tells a story from the first panel to the last panel, because you get the heat of the moment, you get the action of Dick dodging out the way, you get the anger of Bruce, you get Alfred showing concern for the boy but understanding that he's doing things his way, you get Bruce getting angrier, and then ultimately Dick succeeds but then gets angry when Bruce gets mad at him and says, "I did what you asked. Why are you mad at me?" It, like, there's a clear story that has development from the start of this page to the end of this page. I would argue there's more story in these 2 pages than there was in the entirety of World's Finest this week.
I will not disagree.
That's the shocking thing about this.
This was one of my favorite pages of the week. Like, to tip my hand a little bit towards later. Just the way that the color grades too, where it starts with yellow and ends in blue, right? But in the middle there, when Bruce and Dick are yelling at each other, the background's red. Which is 2 completely different, tones from what we were used to. And just, again, the smiles on Dick's face, the concern on Alfred's, the anger on Bruce, like you just said, there's more storytelling here than in all of World's Finest.
Yep. So yeah, sure enough, social services lady comes over, and Bruce is being kind of charming, but he's like, "I take this very seriously." Alfred's like a trained medic and chef, so he's like taking care of things as well.
But he also has to walk that line where he's like, "But he's not the only one taking care of him. I'm still I'm still doing stuff. It's not all just Mr. Pennyworth, So it's very fun to see kind of Bruce having to think on his feet still. He's almost more uncomfortable as this Bruce than as Batman, which is fun to see.
I think he's always more uncomfortable as Bruce to an extent. He's just, you know, over his years of using it as a disguise, he's gotten good at a certain version of Bruce. But this is a Bruce that actually has to like pass a test. Like he has to actually convince this woman of something. So he has to kind of be genuine as Bruce Wayne, and I think that's what makes him uncomfortable because he's just Bruce Wayne just being this character that he plays.
Yeah, it's a mask, and now he has to actually be real.
Yeah. And they open a door, and Dick is jumping off the chandeliers, doing some circus stuff, and she's in shock. Bruce looks pissed, and Dick's just got a smile on his face. He's been a little cocky shit and saying "ta-da," and I would like to think that they'd give him a bit of leeway here because again, and to be fair, Dick even says this in the next page. He's like, "You can take the boy out of the circus, but you can't take the circus out of the boy." So it's like, hey, this is just who he is. But yes, but Bruce is like, no, don't worry, I'm furious about this too. And there's a panel where she's not looking, where Bruce holds up his fist like, you little shit, I'm going to call Batman on you later.
It is. I am so glad we have Chris Samnee drawing DC characters because I've always loved the Samnee books over at Marvel. Right, every time that he's killed it, Daredevil. I can't even think of other books that he's done, but they've been great. Here, just the emotion on Bruce's face, and then to go from that panel to the panel below it where she turns around, and now he has his arm around him. Like you can just see the expression change. Yep. And it's not even a lot of lines or a lot of work on the art.
What makes it funny
Samnee's
though?
A master.
Yeah, what makes it funny though? It's not just that Bruce goes from like having his fist out and like looking really angry. Because obviously he wants to like look like he's been a loving, you know, parent in front of this woman. It's the fact that Dick's in the charade because Dick has a face in that first panel of like, I messed up. And then in the panel where she turns around and Bruce has started smiling, he's also smiling like a big cheesy smile. And it's almost like, regardless of like, this isn't a case because like this is not a case of like, oh, Bruce is a terrible parent and he's like, hey kid, you better not get me in trouble. This is like, no. You like being a part of this Batman and Robin thing, and we have to keep this charade up together. So when she turns around, they both have to put on the act and be like, loving, happy, father-son kind of do.
Isn't that right? Yeah, apparently. Like, just the sass coming from Dick, too. You know? It's just, it's so good.
It's pitch perfect. It's pitch perfect stuff. Dick's a little bit immature still, but, you know, kind of in a likable way. Yeah, just...
complete to sticking his tongue out at Bruce.
It's like, I'll get you locked up for child endangerment, you sunshine. Don't you piss me off.
Go ahead. Yeah. Fire rubber bullets at me. All right.
All good stuff. And even I think the sort of the building of the villain stuff I think is pretty solid here because we teased it last issue because I think we had the character getting off the plane at the end of last issue
from Miami.
Yeah. So it's this mob boss style character and like his father's the old man. At least I think it's his father in the wheelchair. So he's got kind of this older advisor, but it feels very sinister. You've got the high contrast, like it's a dark room, but he's got one lamp kind of like hitting his face, so it's really high contrast. And Two-Face comes in to like try and make a deal and say, hey, I know you want something like a certain file from the police and I can get it for you, but in return I want to be your second in command. I want to like run the empire with you. And he doesn't give him like a straight answer. In fact, he kind of mocks him and says, hey, like, I'll consider it. Let's call it a 50-50 chance. He's kind of like poking Two-Face a little bit.
Poking at Two-Face, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I like this. I like this idea as well that like the old man does talk initially, but once Two-Face is in the room, the old man's like sitting there being this like observer the whole time. Like clearly he's taught his son here a lot about like running an empire, but he's still there, kind of as this force to like, I don't know, help him make decisions and criticize things and whatever.
He feels like Uncle Junior from Breaking Bad, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Junior.
Not Uncle Junior. That's Sopranos. Who's
Hector?
Hector. There we go.
Hector Salamanca.
Yes. He feels like Uncle Hector, just sitting there, just observing. And like this man's done some bad things. He just has that air about him.
Yeah, I can almost hear the ding of the bell now that you've said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really imposing. So then we have Batman and Robin going to like another part of like under the city, and Batman explains that there's a whole cave system that runs under the city. That's why there's so many bats, and he's kind of converted a lot of it. He's also bought up a lot of derelict buildings in the city to use as kind of places that he can kind of jump out of. Because sometimes the Batmobile's the right choice, but it's, you know, it's loud. It kind of announces itself, and sometimes you want to like just show up somewhere so you can pop out of one of these derelict buildings from the underground system and whatnot. So we get they got tipped off that Maroni's men are going to do a heist or an arson job on a Falcone meth lab, right? In fact, hell, we're talking about meth labs, so it's Breaking Bad. What's happening?
Right?
But what happens here though is that the men from the Maroni crew are in their truck and they're on their way to this meth lab. And one of the guys with the flamethrower, and they spend some time talking about the Maronis and the Falcones, doing some whatever. But one of them turns around with a flamethrower, and like the other guys laugh it off and say, he's just joking, he's a loyal guy. But then he just fires the flamethrower. So when Batman and Robin get there, like they're just the inside of this van that they've been driving in is just completely set alight.
Yeah.
Most of the guys are dying or dead. And like Batman pulls them out of the wreckage, and like there's some great art here of Batman coming through the smoke and the flames. But before they get to like interrogating them, this fire started to spread, and it's like, oh shit, we have to help the civilians and like clear the buildings. And there's a really nice moment here where Robin goes off on his own to help some kids. Like, so Batman's rescued this woman, and she's like, my children are in there, my babies. And Dick goes up himself, even though Batman says not to and to wait. And Dick goes up to the kids, and I think this is the part that really stuck out to me. Is that when Dick goes up to these kids, he says, hey, don't be frightened, right? That's my job, wrap up and hold on. And he wraps up his cape on the kids, and he basically sort of like dives out of the building using a door as like a sort of safety like board. He sort of like comes down, landing on top of it with the kids wrapped up in his cape, and he saves the kid, and Batman looks very like impressed and like happy. And it's this sort of thing, what I liked here is that Batman's scary, and of course he'd be scary to kids. The idea that Robin was able to get these kids to like sort of cooperate with them because he's Robin, because he's young, he's colorful, he's closer in age to them, so they were able to trust him. Like there's a value in him not being big, serious, and scary. And it's kind of maybe Batman starting to learn that lesson of like, oh, there's some merit in the ways that he does things. Like him being a bit of a showman let certain people trust him or like reach out to him in a way that they would never reach out to Batman. And I think this is a little example of that, which I think is really cool.
Yes. And then he also brings up the fireproof cape, right?
Yeah.
That Bruce gave him. He goes, yeah, see, look what I did.
Yeah, really nice. So there's one guy still alive from the truck who is not going to make it. He's barely hanging on, right? Love the art here. But the guy like is like, hey, before you go, Batman says, hey, before you die, at least try and get some redemption and tell me some stuff what happened here, and I can try and make it right. And the guy says, yeah, like so and so just like went crazy and started burning us. But as he was burning us, his face started melting like wax. And I'm like, oh, we're doing Clayface. Right?
Something along those lines, right?
Yeah. Because the fact that he's acting out a character makes it feel like a shapeshiftery thing, and then the fact that he's melting makes me think it's Clayface. But I mean, they could swerve me with something else, but Clayface is where I went with. Because obviously, when it started with flamethrowers, I was like, Firefly or something's going to be involved with this.
Someone, but the fact that they were talking about how out of character this was for that guy, right? Because that was one of the Maroni's top guys. So the fact that he just turns a flamethrower on them, right, is that's clearly not who we think it is. So, but the wax melting, and then even the reaction on Dick's face in the final panel, he goes, "Wait, what?" So it's something new, something that he's not yet experienced. So very, very fun stuff. Also, the top of that page where we got the over the shoulder of Bruce looking at the burn victim, and then it makes almost this grotesque kind of face with the panel beneath it too. So it's a bit disorienting, kind of like the entire scene. So.
Just really nice touches. Even something as simple as that panel on the last page where the fire's there, because it's like showing you the face melting a little bit, is that the edges of that panel are all kind of wavy like a flame, as opposed to the rest of the panels, which are all straight. Just nice little touches. This was an excellent issue, I think, because I think it succeeds in every level. It's well structured, it's well paced. I think it does a lot to develop the Bruce and Dick relationship, both at the home and like sort of the mundane part of like him actually adopting him and what's that's like and going through that process, but also in the Robin training, and then here Robin like doing the stuff to help save the kids. I think it's building the mystique of the villain and how powerful and scary they are quite well. And I think the cliffhanger of like, oh hey, Clayface might be involved with this was a great little, okay, you got me. That was an exciting cliffhanger. So every element of it worked. It was there's like the only thing that would make it any more perfect if it just happened to be like a really touching, emotional, like big story beat or something. But but for the part of the story this is telling, this was a perfect execution of it.
Absolutely.
All right.
I can't add anything else to that because you hit all the points.
Yeah, I mean, I can't praise it enough, and the art's obviously gorgeous throughout. You know, the idea of like this flamethrower going off in this confined little trucker van is like really monstrous to think about, because it's such, you know, because you're so like the flames would just be covering the entire area of it like instantly, pretty much. There's no way where for them to go. Right. So yeah. Good stuff. All right, what are you giving Batman and Robin year one?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
I gotta go 9.5, and I like I say, the only thing that I think is keeping it from the 10 is probably just that if it was a bigger dramatic point in the story to hit like that emotional punch, I think it would get there for me. But in every other way, it's pretty much perfect in execution. So I gotta go 10. Sorry, 9.5. Yes. This is the point I was making there.
It's just weird that the one book this week that Wade wrote that doesn't have Superman ended up being my favorite. I just want to point that out.
It's strange, but maybe it just shows that because he's telling a simpler story here, it's better in every way. Yeah. Well, that's also, you get Samnee in there as a co-creative as well. So I wonder if he has some input in there as well. They're a very good team. So that it might just be that as well. Yeah, possibly, but I think part of it's just that we're telling a more traditional Batman story in Gotham versus here's a million characters in world's finest. Since coming and doing the Lazarus Planet and Batman versus Robin, it seems like Mark Waid has something to say about the Batman-Robin relationship. That's fair. It's been like this undercurrent in most of the things that he's done so far. So just keep him at it, please.